The night sky looked calm, but something strange was happening above the clouds. People across the world saw streaks of light moving fast like shooting stars. Some recorded videos, others made wishes, and a few simply stared in wonder. No one knew these lights were not stars. They were not meteors. They were ships. Silent, cold, and watching. In the deep silence of space, just beyond the moon's shadow, a vast fleet waited. Their ships were dark, smooth, and sharp-edged like blades. No human radar could detect them. They had been there for days, studying Earth, its people, its defenses, its weaknesses. They had done this to many worlds before. They always won. The alien commander, Zoreth, stood on the bridge of the main ship. His eyes glowed faint blue under the dim lights. "Primitive world," he said, his voice calm and confident. "No space fleet. No planetary shield. No threat." His officers nodded. Their computers showed a weak, unprepared planet. They saw humans as fragile creatures, emotional, disorganized, and easy to conquer. Zoreth smiled. "It will be quick," he said. "By sunrise, the planet will be ours." Down on Earth, life continued as usual. In New York, people hurried home from work. In Tokyo, trains ran on time. In small towns, children played under the same glowing sky, pointing at what they thought were meteors. No one on the surface had any idea that death was falling quietly from above. But far away, in a secret base hidden deep under the Rocky Mountains, a few people knew. They had been waiting for this night. Inside the underground facility known as Echelon 9, alarms were silent but glowing red. Screens showed strange readings, massive objects moving in formation just beyond lunar orbit. A man in a dark uniform leaned over the main console. His name was Commander Reyes. He had gray eyes, calm but heavy with years of secrets. "They're here," he said softly. A young officer turned to him, nervous. "Sir, confirmation from Satellite Echo 17. The readings are real. Multiple ships. Unknown design." Reyes nodded. He looked at a glass wall in front of him, behind which several scientists and analysts worked quickly. "Run full scans," he ordered. "And seal all external links. No information leaves this room." One of the scientists whispered, "They found us early." Reyes looked at the clock on the wall. It was 2:43 a.m. "No," he said. "Right on time." He walked toward a metal door marked Restricted Level 5, and placed his hand on the scanner. The door opened, revealing a huge dark chamber filled with screens, lights, and a massive digital map of Earth. Red dots appeared around the globe, underground silos, ocean bases, satellite networks, all connected by a single system. The screen above them read, "Global Defense Grid, Standby Mode." Reyes stared at it for a long moment. Then he said, almost to himself, "For 50 years, we waited for this." The young officer followed him. "Sir, should we alert the world governments?" Reyes turned, his expression cold. "No. Panic will only make things worse. They will know when it begins." Above the Earth, the alien fleet adjusted its course. Dozens of large ships moved closer, hidden behind clouds and shadows. Their scanners swept the planet like searchlights, searching for weapon systems, space fleets, or any sign of danger. They found none. Zoreth laughed. "Look at them," he said. "Billions of them living in comfort, unaware of what's coming." His second-in-command, Varric, said, "Their technology is primitive. They cannot fight back." "Good," Zoreth replied. "We take the oceans first. The water will power our reactors for centuries." He raised his hand. "Prepare landing units." But before the order could be completed, one of his officers hesitated. "Commander," he said slowly, "I am detecting something unusual from the planet's magnetic field." "Explain," Zoreth demanded. "It's pulsing, as if responding to our scans." The commander frowned. "Impossible. This world has no planetary AI. Continue." But deep beneath the ground, in Echelon 9, a quiet hum began to rise. Computers activated automatically, screens flickered, and a voice spoke through the speakers, cold and metallic. Defense protocol initiated. Unauthorized observation detected. The young officer gasped. Sir, it's starting by itself. Reyes smiled slightly. Let it. He watched the screens as the global map began to shift. Hidden points across the oceans lit up one by one. Unknown to the aliens, Earth had been preparing for decades. After the first strange signal was detected 30 years ago, humanity had built something extraordinary. A hidden defense system powered by artificial intelligence, buried deep under the crust of the planet. They called it Aegis. It was designed to stay silent until the enemy made their move. Reyes looked at the glowing lights on the screen. They think we are weak, he said quietly. They think we have nothing. He turned to the officer beside him. But tonight, they will learn how wrong they are. Outside, the last of the false meteors vanished into the clouds. The world slept peacefully under the stars, not knowing the war for Earth had already begun. High above the planet, the alien fleet floated silently like dark ghosts in the sky. They had entered Earth's orbit without resistance. No missiles. No warnings. No sign of defense. Commander Zoreth stood in the middle of his ship's command hall, a large circular room glowing with blue lights and holographic maps. Around him, his officers moved quickly, scanning data and analyzing human transmissions. So quiet, Zoreth said, looking at the rotating image of Earth. It's almost peaceful. His second-in-command, Varric, bowed his head. Commander, their systems show no coordinated defense network. Their satellites are basic. Their weapons are primitive. This will be the easiest conquest we have ever done. Zoreth smiled. Good. Begin the preparation. I want the landing forces ready within the hour. As Varric turned to give orders, a small red warning flashed on one of the side monitors. An officer called out, Commander, we are receiving strange interference from the planet's surface. Zoreth frowned. Interference. The officer nodded. Yes, sir. Our scanners cannot read certain parts of the oceans. There is some kind of electromagnetic distortion. It's blocking our signals. Zoreth waved his hand dismissively. A natural occurrence. Ignore it. This world is full of storms and weak magnetic zones. But deep down, he did not like surprises. He stared again at the blue planet below. Primitive, he repeated softly, as if trying to convince himself. Meanwhile on Earth, inside the secret facility of Echelon 9, Commander Reyes stood with his team, watching the alien ships appear on their hidden radar. The screen showed dozens of large vessels forming a pattern around the planet. Reyes said, They're not attacking yet. They're studying us. A scientist beside him replied, They're trying to understand what we can do. They think we're harmless. Reyes nodded. Let them believe it. The base lights flickered as the defense AI, Aegis, began to gather more data. Its metallic voice echoed through the room. Unidentified ships confirmed. Estimated fleet count, 74. Primary weapons, plasma-based. Defense level, high. Probability of hostile intent, 99%. Reyes looked at the data calmly. So it begins. Back in orbit, the alien commander walked toward the main window of his ship. He could see the curve of Earth glowing faintly in the sunlight. Strange, he said quietly. Such beauty from afar, and yet so fragile. Varric approached him. Commander, all landing divisions are ready. We have also intercepted several human broadcasts. They seem unaware of our presence. Zoreth smirked. Excellent. Their ignorance will make the victory even sweeter. Begin the transmission to all ships. We attack at dawn. On Earth, dawn was only a few hours away. But deep in Echelon 9, the mood was tense. The entire command center was alive with movement. Operators exchanged data, soldiers loaded weapons, and engineers checked systems buried under layers of rock. Reyes stood in the middle, arms crossed. "Report," he ordered. "Aegis has confirmed full system readiness," said the technician. "Submarine fleets are in position. Orbital cannons still offline but charging." Reyes took a deep breath. "Good. No one fires until I give the order. Let them make the first move." One of the young analysts looked up nervously. "Sir, what if they reach the surface before we're ready?" Reyes turned to him. "Then we make them regret coming here." Above them, the alien fleet began to move into attack formation. Hundreds of smaller crafts detached from the main ships, spreading across the sky like a swarm of metal insects. They prepared for descent, scanning Earth's continents, locking onto major cities. Zoratha's ship led the front line. His voice filled the fleet communication network. "Warriors of the Dominion, remember our purpose. This world belongs to us. Its oceans will feed our engines. Its land will carry our new colonies. Show no mercy." As his words echoed through the fleet, one of the junior officers noticed something unusual. "Commander," he said hesitantly, "some of the smaller ships are losing signal connection. There's interference again, stronger this time." "Location?" Zorath asked sharply. "It seems to come from beneath their oceans." Zorath narrowed his eyes. "Beneath?" The officer nodded. "Yes, sir. It's not natural. The readings are rhythmic, almost like a machine pulse." Zorath turned toward the main hologram, which now showed red zones flashing across several parts of the Pacific Ocean. "What are they hiding?" he murmured. "Primitive species should not be able to mask our sensors." He tapped his communicator. "Send scout drones. I want eyes on that region now." Minutes later, dozens of small drones shot through the atmosphere, invisible to the human eye, diving into Earth's oceans. But the moment they crossed a certain depth, their signals vanished. One by one, they went silent. The alien officer's voice trembled. "Commander, the drones are gone. No data, no signal." Zoratha's expression darkened. "Impossible. Nothing on this planet should be capable of disabling our systems." He turned away, his jaw tightening. "Continue the descent anyway. I want results." Far below, in Echelon 9, the AI Aegis reported, "Hostile probes neutralized. Cloaking integrity stable." Reyes allowed himself a small smile. "Good. They're taking the bait." The young officer beside him looked confused. "Bait, sir?" Reyes said, "They're looking for our defenses. Let them keep searching. They'll only find what we want them to see." Above them, in the dark of space, Zoratha's fleet continued to descend, unaware that every move was being tracked. The commander stood by the viewing window once again, his reflection merging with the planet's glow. "Earth," he whispered, "you will soon kneel before us." But somewhere deep beneath the oceans, hidden metal giants began to stir, their engines humming like distant thunder. Deep beneath the mountains, far away from any city or satellite eye, the secret base known as Echelon 9 was alive with energy. Alarms were silent, but red lights flashed across the command center, bathing everything in a crimson glow. Commander Reyes stood at the center of the control room, his hands behind his back, eyes locked on the large digital screen showing the alien fleet moving closer to Earth. Around him, dozens of officers worked fast, checking power levels, activating defense codes, and linking with hidden military stations across the planet. "They've entered the upper atmosphere," one of the officers reported, his voice tight with fear. Reyes nodded slowly. "Then it's time." He turned to the main console and pressed his hand against the screen. The system responded instantly, scanning his palm and voice. "Commander Elias Reyes, authorization confirmed," the AI said in its calm metallic tone. The commander took a deep breath. "Activate Phase 1. All across the world, far below the oceans, hidden structures came to life. Massive steel walls shifted, ancient locks turned, and long-dormant engines began to hum. The sound was low but powerful, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. In the Pacific Ocean, A small fishing boat floated above what looked like empty water. The two fishermen on board suddenly felt their boat shake. One of them pointed down and shouted, "What is that?" Beneath them, huge shadows moved, followed by bright blue lights rising from the depths. The fishermen stared in silence, too shocked to speak, as a massive shape passed beneath the surface. Something mechanical, something alive. Back in Echelon 9, the young officer at the radar shouted, "Sir, oceanic structures are active. Energy output increasing fast." Reyes looked calm. "Good. Let them wake up." The AI's voice filled the room again. "Defense units A through F are online. Awaiting command." Reyes turned to his team. "We built these machines for a reason. Now it's time they do their job." The scientists watched the data streams roll in. Readings that hadn't moved in decades were now alive with power. "Unbelievable," one of them whispered. "We actually did it. We built a fleet beneath their feet." Reyes didn't smile. "No one must ever know about it. Not yet." Above them, the alien commander Zorath was growing impatient. His scouts had gone silent, his probes destroyed, and his sensors blinded by strange interference. He paced the bridge of his ship, his eyes filled with suspicion. "They hide something," he said. Varric, his second-in-command, replied carefully. "Commander, our scanners still detect no major weapons or fleet. Perhaps the interference is natural." Zorath turned sharply. "You think I am a fool? Our probes vanished, our signals jammed, and you call it natural?" He slammed his clawed hand on the console. "They are hiding something under those waters." He stared at the holographic image of Earth and whispered, "Let's see what secrets you keep." He raised his hand and ordered, "Deploy orbital strikes on the Pacific. I want that interference gone." Several smaller alien ships broke formation and began descending toward the planet. In Echelon 9, the radar screens lit up with warning signals. "Commander, multiple hostiles incoming. Estimated impact zone, Pacific Ocean." Reyes clenched his jaw. "So they've decided to test us." He looked up at the main screen showing the glowing points of alien ships entering the atmosphere. "Prepare for countermeasure test 1. The technician hesitated. "Sir, we've never fired these systems before." "We don't even know if," Reyes interrupted firmly. "We'll know soon enough." The AI's voice came again. "Authorization required to release orbital response grid." Reyes placed his hand on the scanner again. "Commander Elias Reyes, authorization granted." A low hum echoed through the entire base. The lights flickered. On the global map, 6 bright dots appeared across the Pacific Ocean. They weren't alien, they were human. Hidden warships, larger than aircraft carriers, built beneath the sea decades ago under a secret alliance of nations. Their code name was Leviathan class. Each one armed with advanced plasma rail systems and stealth cloaking. Reyes spoke quietly, almost reverently. "Leviathan units, online." Above the ocean, the alien ships began firing plasma bolts toward the surface, each blast bright enough to light up the sky. The fishermen who had witnessed the lights earlier now watched in terror as the sea itself seemed to explode. But the attacks never reached the bottom. The moment the plasma bolts struck the waves, massive energy shields appeared, blocking the impact completely. The ocean glowed blue for several seconds, then went dark again. On the alien ship, Zoratha's eyes widened. What was that?" His officer stammered, "Unknown energy barrier, Commander. The ocean deflected our fire." "Deflected?" Zorath repeated. "No. It absorbed it." He turned to his crew. "Pull back the strike units immediately." But it was already too late. From beneath the waves, massive objects began to rise. The Leviathan warships broke through the ocean surface with thunderous force, their hulls gleaming under the moonlight. Each ship was hundreds of meters long, armed with glowing weapons that hummed like angry gods. From orbit, Zorath could now see them on his scanners. His face went pale. They had warships hidden all along, he whispered. In Echelon 9, the control room filled with light as every screen displayed the same message, Defense Grid Active. Reyes watched the feed from the satellites showing Earth's oceans lighting up with power. They wanted a silent invasion, he said softly. We'll give them a loud welcome. The AI responded, awaiting fire order. Reyes looked at the red circle glowing on the console, the button that could unleash Earth's fury for the first time in human history. Not yet, he said. Let them come closer. The alien fleet above the planet continued its descent, unaware that the quiet blue world below had finally awakened. The alien fleet entered Earth's atmosphere with calm confidence. To them, this world was nothing more than another target, another conquest to be written into the long history of the Dominion. The first rays of dawn touched the curve of the planet, painting the sky gold and red, but the aliens saw no beauty in it. They only saw opportunity. Commander Zoreth stood at the front of his command deck, watching as his fleet spread across the skies. All ships, prepare for surface landing, he ordered. Take control of major population centers and disable their communication systems. Make this clean and fast. His officers moved quickly, sending commands to hundreds of smaller craft that detached and dived toward the Earth like falling stars. To anyone watching from below, it looked like a beautiful meteor shower. In cities across the world, people pointed to the sky, not realizing those lights were death descending upon them. But not everyone was blind. In the hidden base of Echelon 9, Commander Reyes stood in front of the main screen, his face illuminated by the glow of the incoming threat. They're coming, said the young officer beside him. Reyes nodded slowly. Then it's time to answer. The AI's voice echoed through the base, calm and steady. Multiple targets detected. Incoming trajectory confirmed. Estimated impact in 3 minutes. Reyes turned to his team. Activate Leviathan Fleet Protocol. Full power. Deep beneath the oceans, the massive warships came alive. Their hulls vibrated with energy as plasma reactors ignited, lighting up the dark sea like a sunrise from below. The water churned violently as each ship began to rise toward the surface. Leviathan 1 to command, a deep voice crackled through the speakers, systems online and weapons charged. Reyes replied, hold your fire until I give the word. On the alien flagship, Zoreth's sensors detected strange readings from the Pacific Ocean. Report, he demanded. One of his officers looked at the screen nervously. Commander, there's massive energy movement under the water. It's unnatural. Zoreth frowned. Show me. The holographic display flickered, showing multiple energy signatures spreading beneath the oceans like veins of light. What is this? Zoreth growled. Has this planet always had these power sources? Unknown, sir, the officer replied. The readings are increasing fast. Keep scanning, Zoreth ordered. If they have weapons, I want to see them before they fire. But he was already too late. The ocean began to boil. The surface swelled as waves hundreds of feet high crashed outward. Then, with a sound that shook the heavens, the first Leviathan warship broke through. A tower of metal and fire rose from the deep, covered in blue energy. The ship's cannons glowed, its engines roared, and its guns locked onto the sky. What is that? One alien shouted. That's impossible. It's a human ship. Zoreth's eyes widened in disbelief. They built that on this primitive world. In Echelon 9, Reyes gave his first command. Leviathan Fleet, open fire. The ocean lit up as dozens of beams shot into the sky. The energy was blinding, cutting through clouds like lightning from the sea. The alien fleet was hit before they could react. One of Zoreth's ships exploded instantly, a massive fireball tearing through the sky. Evasive maneuvers, he shouted. Defensive shields, now. But chaos had already taken over. Earth's hidden warships continued to rise, firing one after another, their shots precise and deadly. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion was losing ships. Commander, we're under heavy attack, shouted Varric. "We didn't detect any of these weapons." Zoratha's voice was sharp. "Counter-fire. Destroy the source." The alien vessels began firing plasma bolts down at the ocean, but the Leviathan's energy shields held firm, glowing brighter with every impact. Reyes watched the readings with satisfaction. "Beautiful," he muttered. "They thought we were weak." The young officer beside him asked, "Sir, should we reveal the orbital grid?" Reyes shook his head. "Not yet. Let them see only a fraction of what we can do." On the alien ship, panic began to spread. "Commander, 23 of our crafts have been destroyed. Their technology, it's advanced, far beyond predicted levels." Zorath slammed his hand against the console. "Impossible! How did they hide all this from the network? No planet this young should have such power." Then he paused, realizing something. "Unless they were preparing for us." His voice turned cold. "We underestimated them." Below, the Leviathan fleet continued its deadly dance. Giant cannons turned, firing at targets miles above, hitting alien ships one by one. Explosions dotted the dawn sky, creating a storm of light and fire visible from the ground. People across the world stared upward in awe and fear as their sky burned. "Is it a war?" someone shouted on a live news broadcast. "Who is attacking us?" But no one answered. In the secret base, Reyes stood calm, his eyes never leaving the screen. "Aegis," he said. "Status report." The AI replied, "Enemy fleet damage, 30%. Human losses, minimal. Defense grid at 72% power." Reyes nodded. "Good. Keep it that way." Suddenly, the lights flickered. Aegis spoke again. "Warning. Enemy flagship charging primary weapon." Reyes frowned. "They're desperate. Fine. Let's see how desperate." He turned to his team. "Prepare Leviathan 4. I want a full counterstrike ready." Outside, Zoratha's main ship began to glow red as its core charged for a massive blast. He shouted, "Target the largest energy source in the ocean. Wipe it out completely." A massive beam of red plasma shot downward, cutting through the sky. But just before it hit, the ocean erupted once again. From deep below, another ship, larger than the rest, rose out of the water, its hull shining like silver. It unleashed a counter-beam of white-blue light, meeting the red blast halfway. The two beams collided, creating a shockwave that shattered clouds and shook the air. Lightning arced across the sky as both sides fought for control. Inside the alien ship, sparks flew, systems overloaded, and alarms screamed. "Commander, we're losing power," shouted Varric. Zoratha's eyes burned with rage. "No. Hold your ground." But it was no use. The red beam began to bend, swallowed by the blue light. A moment later, the human weapon struck true. The alien flagship shook violently, alarms blaring. "We've been hit," someone screamed. "Hull breach on level 3. Zorath stumbled, but held onto the railing. His eyes were full of disbelief and fury. "How?" he whispered. "How could they do this?" And far below, in Echelon 9, Commander Reyes watched the screen as the enemy flagship began to fall from orbit. "Welcome to Earth," he said quietly. The sky exploded with fire. The morning sky was no longer blue. It burned red and gold as fire streaked across the atmosphere, lighting the horizon like the end of the world. Pieces of alien ships fell from orbit, glowing trails marking their fall before crashing into oceans and deserts. The people of Earth watched in silence and fear, not knowing whether this was the end or the beginning of something greater. In space, the once perfect formation of the Dominion fleet was shattered. Dozens of ships were destroyed, others drifted powerless, their systems fried by the counterattack from Earth's hidden warships. Commander Zorath stood amid the smoke and flashing alarms of his damaged command deck. Sparks fell from the ceiling as officers rushed to control fires. "Report," he shouted. Varric, covered in dust and burns, replied, "Half of our fleet is gone, Commander. Their weapons, their technology, it's unlike anything we've seen. Zorith growled, his voice shaking with rage. No, this is not possible. We studied them for years. They had nothing like this. He turned toward the viewing window and saw Earth below, glowing with strange blue energy. They were hiding it, he said softly. All of it. Back on the surface, inside Echelon 9, Commander Reyes watched the satellite feed as the alien ships burned in the atmosphere. We've done it, said one of the young officers. They're retreating. But Reyes didn't celebrate. His expression was cold and focused. They're not done yet, he said. They'll regroup. They always do. The AI, Aegis, spoke calmly. Enemy fleet status, 43% operational. Estimated counterattack in 6 minutes. Reyes nodded. Then we hit them harder. He looked around the command center, where exhausted soldiers and scientists worked without pause. All units prepare Phase 2. Target the survivors before they reform. Deep beneath the sea, the Leviathan fleet shifted into new positions. Their massive cannons recharged, and hidden drone pods opened like metallic flowers, releasing hundreds of small attack drones that shot upward through the waves into the sky. The drones rose fast, leaving thin trails behind them. As they reached the upper atmosphere, their wings opened and weapons armed. Leviathan drones deployed, reported the technician. Reyes whispered. Now, let's finish this. Above the planet, Zoritha's fleet tried to recover. Smaller ships clustered around the flagship for protection. Commander, enemy drones approaching fast, shouted an officer. We're detecting hundreds, no, thousands. Zorith clenched his fists. Activate our interceptors. Bring them down. Alien fighters swarmed out, meeting the human drones head-on. The sky turned into a storm of light and explosions. Drones and interceptors collided, burning up in flashes of white and orange. The air itself seemed to shake from the violence. On the ground, people saw the battle as glowing threads weaving across the sky. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. It looks like angels and demons fighting, said a woman in London, watching from her rooftop. But it was no divine war, it was humanity's last defense. In Echelon 9, alarms sounded again. Commander, shouted an officer, the enemy flagship is charging a new weapon. Power levels are rising beyond their previous limit. Reyes looked up sharply. They're desperate. Aegis, predict trajectory. The AI's voice replied, projected target, Echelon 9 base. Estimated time to impact, 120 seconds. Reyes felt the ground tremble as the base's walls vibrated from the energy building in orbit. Brace for impact, he ordered. Activate planetary shields. Across the planet, a network of satellites suddenly came online, each linked to Aegis. Beams of blue light connected across continents, forming an invisible web around the Earth. The alien flagship fired. A massive red beam shot down, tearing through clouds, cutting straight toward the mountains. But before it reached the surface, the beam hit the shield. The world lit up. The collision created a shockwave that circled the entire planet. The atmosphere roared like thunder, cities trembled, and oceans rose. For a moment, the sky looked as if it was tearing apart, half red, half blue, energy clashing violently above. Then the red light began to fade. The shield held. Shield integrity stable, reported Aegis. The room erupted in cheers, but Reyes raised his hand. Not yet. We strike back now. Acknowledged, said the AI. The satellite network redirected its energy. From every orbiting station, concentrated beams of light fired toward space, hitting alien ships with deadly accuracy. Zorith watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart one by one. Commander, we can't hold position. Varric shouted. Their counterfire is too strong. Retreat. Zorith finally ordered. Pull back to the dark side of the planet. We must regroup. But even as he gave the command, the sky above Earth exploded again. The satellite's combined power unleashed a storm of energy that tore through the alien formations. The explosion was so bright that it was seen from the ground, turning night into day across half the world. People screamed, cried, or fell to their knees as the heavens burned. "The sky," a child whispered, pointing upward. "It's on fire." Reyes watched quietly, his face hard but his eyes heavy. "That's not fire," he said softly. "That's survival." Aegis spoke again. "Enemy fleet damage, 78%. Remaining forces retreating." Reyes exhaled slowly. "Good. Let them run. But keep eyes on them. This isn't over." In orbit, the few surviving Dominion ships limped away, engines sparking, armor cracked. Inside his damaged flagship, Zorith stared at the glowing planet below. His pride was shattered, his voice hollow. "They were supposed to be weak," he said. "They were supposed to fall." Varric looked at him in silence. "Commander, what do we do?" Zorith turned slowly toward him, eyes burning with vengeance. "We adapt. We learn. And then we destroy them." His ship turned, disappearing into the dark void of space. On Earth, the fires in the sky began to fade, leaving trails of smoke and silent sparks falling like dying stars. In Echelon 9, Reyes looked at the exhausted faces of his team. "We won the first battle," he said quietly, "but the war has just begun." The AI confirmed in its calm voice, "Alert level remains high. Enemy presence still detected beyond lunar orbit." Reyes stared at the screen one last time. "Let them watch," he said. "Next time, they won't find a sleeping world." Outside, dawn finally broke again over the quiet planet, and the once peaceful sky carried the scars of war. The night after the battle was silent, but it was not peace. The air smelled of smoke and metal, the skies still bruised with colors of war. Across the planet, people looked upward, afraid that the fire might return. In Echelon 9, Commander Reyes stood on the command deck, staring at the massive holographic display that showed Earth's orbit. The Dominion fleet had retreated beyond lunar range, but faint signals still flickered on the radar. "They're not gone," Reyes said quietly. "They're just waiting." The AI Aegis responded, confirmed. "Enemy ships remain cloaked behind the moon. Energy patterns suggest repair operations." Reyes turned to his officers. "We can't wait for them to strike again. We take the initiative this time." The room fell silent. No one expected those words. The young officer Miller hesitated. "Sir, we barely survived the last fight. Our orbital defenses are damaged, and Leviathan units need maintenance. If we attack now," Reyes cut him off. "If we wait, we die. They will come back stronger. We must strike while they think we are weak." He walked toward the window, where the faint curve of the Earth met the black of space. "Humanity's strength has always been in fighting when there's no chance left." Aegis' voice interrupted. "Commander, incoming transmission from Lunar Outpost Theta." Reyes nodded. "Put it through." The screen flickered, revealing Colonel Harlow, the grizzled officer stationed on the moon. "Commander, we've confirmed it. The Dominion isn't retreating, they're building something behind the lunar ridge. It's massive." Reyes frowned. "Show me." The image changed, showing a dark crater filled with alien machines, glowing with green and red energy. "They're assembling a superweapon," Harlow said. "My team believes it's a gravitational cannon, something that could crack a planet's crust." The room filled with tension. Reyes clenched his fists. "If they finish that, Earth won't stand a chance." He turned sharply. "Prepare Task Force Orion. We hit them before they fire." Harlow hesitated. "That's suicide, Commander. They'll detect us long before we reach them." Reyes' voice hardened. "Then we move in the shadows. Use stealth units. We'll strike fast and disappear." Aegis processed the plan in seconds. Probability of success, 34%. Reyes smirked faintly. "Then that's 34% more than we had yesterday." The order was given. Across the planet, pilots and soldiers were awakened, engineers rushed to ready their ships, and the massive hangar doors of the Leviathan fleet opened again. The sea roared as the metallic beasts rose from beneath the waves. Their hulls still bore scars from the first battle, but their spirits were unbroken. Orion Squadron, status check, called Reyes through his headset. All systems ready, replied Captain Lin from her fighter. We're waiting for your signal. Then let's make history, Reyes said. The mission began in silence. The human ships moved like shadows through the darkness of space, their hulls coated with new adaptive camouflage powered by Aegis. As they approached the moon's dark side, the alien construction site came into view. It looked like a spider's web of metal and energy, spreading across the crater floor, pulsing with a heartbeat of red light. That's it, whispered Lin. Their weapon. Reyes' voice came through calmly. All units, target the power cores. Aegis will guide your shots. We only get one chance. The ships adjusted their positions, weapons locking on. Aegis counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The silence shattered. Streams of blue plasma and kinetic missiles tore through the void, hitting the alien base in precise bursts. Explosions rippled across the crater as the Dominion's machinery erupted into flames. But before the humans could retreat, the entire structure came alive. Alien turrets unfolded from the ground, firing back with blinding speed. We're detected, shouted Lin. Evasive maneuvers. The blackness of space turned into chaos. Human ships twisted and spun, dodging red beams that cut through the darkness like lightning. One of the smaller fighters exploded, scattering debris. Reyes watched grimly as he piloted the command ship forward. Stay on target. We need to destroy that weapon before they power it. Aegis warned, enemy reinforcements inbound. Multiple warships approaching from orbit. Then we end it now, Reyes growled. He activated the Leviathan protocol. From Earth, one of the massive seaborne warships launched a single projectile, a hypervelocity rod aimed straight for the moon. It traveled faster than sound, faster than thought, guided by Aegis' exact precision. Zorith, aboard his half-repaired flagship, saw the sensor reading too late. What is that? He roared. The Dominion officers panicked. It's a kinetic missile. Impact in 3 seconds. The weapon struck the moon's surface with unimaginable force. The crater erupted, sending a blinding light into space. The shockwave rippled outward, throwing Dominion ships off course and shattering their construction site completely. Inside Echelon 9, the impact registered as a massive tremor. Target destroyed, said Aegis. Cheers filled the command center, but Reyes didn't smile. He looked at the readings. What's the damage to the moon? Aegis replied, surface destabilized, but structural integrity remains within limits. Good, said Reyes. Then humanity still has a sky. In space, the surviving Dominion ships struggled to regroup. Zorith stared at the burning crater, his pride turning to fury. They dared to strike us here, he hissed. These humans think themselves gods. Varric looked at him nervously. Commander, our weapon is lost. What are your orders? Zorith's eyes narrowed. Orders? Prepare the fleet. I want their home in ashes. On Earth, Reyes watched the screen as the alien ships began to move again. The victory was real, but it was short-lived. They'll come back, he said quietly. And next time, they won't hold back. Aegis' tone was calm as always. Then neither will we. Reyes turned to the stars outside, where glowing fragments of the battle still drifted. The turning point had come, but it was only the beginning of a greater storm. Humanity had struck first, but now the universe would strike back. The stars above Earth burned brighter than ever, but behind their beauty, death waited. The Dominion fleet had regrouped, stronger and angrier than before. New ships, massive and dark, emerged from the void like shadows born from hatred. Each vessel glowed with crimson energy, their weapons charged to destroy a world. On Earth, alarms rang across every command base. Inside Echelon 9, Commander Reyes stood firm, his face hard but calm. "So they've come back," he said. "Good. Let's welcome them properly." Aegis projected the incoming data. Enemy fleet count, 162 warships. Power levels exceed previous encounter by 70%. Reyes nodded slowly. "Then this will be the real fight." The officers around him looked tense, some whispering prayers, others adjusting their equipment. Reyes' voice cut through the noise. "Listen to me. This is it. Every defense we built, every secret we kept, it's all for this day. If we fall, humanity falls. But if we win, the stars will never forget." Outside, Earth's hidden fleet prepared for launch. The Leviathans rose from the oceans again, their hulls repaired, their engines roaring with blue fire. Above them, orbital satellites powered up, glowing like rings of light encircling the planet. Reyes gave the order. "Activate Skyguard Protocol." Across the world, silos opened, revealing thousands of interceptor missiles, drones, and railgun stations hidden for years. Humanity's full strength was finally revealed. "They think Earth is defenseless?" Reyes muttered. "Let's show them the truth." In orbit, Zoratha's flagship led the alien armada forward. "Fire all batteries," he commanded coldly. "Leave nothing alive." A storm of red plasma descended from space, striking the shields around Earth. The impact shook the planet, mountains trembling, oceans raging. The shields flickered but held. "Shields at 60%, Aegis reported. Reinforcement energy rerouting from solar arrays." Reyes shouted. "Return fire. Target the lead ship." Human warships and satellites unleashed their fury. Beams of white light shot upward, hitting the Dominion ships head-on. The sky turned into a battlefield of colors, blue, red, white, flashing and twisting as ships exploded one after another. The noise was like thunder echoing through the heavens. Captain Lin's voice came through the comms, strained but steady. "Commander, we're outnumbered 20-1. "Then make every shot count," Reyes replied. "We fight for Earth, not numbers." The battle raged on. One of the Leviathan ships took a direct hit, bursting into flames before sinking back into the ocean. Reyes watched it happen, his jaw tightening. "Aegis, status?" "Leviathan, 2 destroyed. 97% of drone fleet operational." "Keep them in the fight," Reyes ordered. "Every second counts." Meanwhile, in orbit, Zorath stood on his bridge, eyes filled with fury. "They still resist." "How?" Varric shouted over the alarms. "Their shields, Commander, they're adapting faster than predicted." Zorath slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Enough. Bring the Oblivion Core online. If we cannot burn their defenses, we will erase the planet itself." Engineers around him activated the device, a massive sphere of dark energy pulsing at the center of the flagship. "Charge it fully," Zorath growled. "End this world." Back on Earth, Aegis detected the surge instantly. "Commander, we have a problem. The enemy flagship is charging a weapon capable of planetary destruction." Reyes' heart pounded. "How long?" 3 minutes until firing sequence completes." Reyes stared at the holographic display. 3 minutes to save a planet. "All ships, focus fire on the flagship," he commanded. "We have to stop that weapon before it fires." The human fleet redirected every cannon and missile toward Zoratha's ship. The space between Earth and the Dominion flagship became a river of fire. The explosions were endless. But the weapon kept charging. Aegis' tone grew urgent. 90 seconds remaining. Reyes clenched his teeth. "Aegis, prepare Project Dawn." The AI paused. "Commander, that project was never tested. Activation may destroy the fleet and the planet's upper atmosphere." "I know," Reyes said quietly. "But if we don't use it, there won't be a planet left to save." He opened a secure channel. "Captain Lin, are you still alive?" Barely, she replied, her ship's alarms screaming in the background. What do you need? We're initiating Project Dawn. I need you to deliver the beacon. Lin hesitated for half a second, then nodded. Understood. For Earth. Her damaged fighter broke formation, diving straight toward the Dominion flagship. The beacon she carried was small, but its core contained the most powerful energy converter humanity had ever built. Zorith saw her approach and sneered. One tiny ship dares challenge me? He raised his hand. Destroy her. Alien cannons fired, tearing through space, but Lin's ship dodged them, flames trailing behind. Her engines screamed as the hull began to melt. Almost there, she whispered. Aegis' voice guided her through. Target locked. Impact in 5 seconds. Lin smiled faintly. Tell Reyes, we're not done yet. Her ship hit the flagship dead center. A blinding light filled the void as the beacon activated. Reyes shouted, Now! Fire Project Dawn! On his command, the satellites around Earth linked together, channeling all their remaining energy into one massive beam. The light shot upward, connecting with the beacon inside the Dominion flagship. The resulting explosion was beyond anything ever seen. The sky turned white, space itself seemed to ripple, and the Dominion fleet was engulfed in pure energy. When the light faded, only silence remained. The enemy ships were gone. Aegis' voice broke the stillness. Enemy fleet destroyed. Radiation levels stabilizing. Earth is safe. Reyes sank back in his chair, exhaustion washing over him. Lin, he asked softly. There was no answer. Only static. He closed his eyes. You did it, Captain. Outside, the dawn broke across the planet, the first true dawn in days. People came out of shelters, looking up at the sky that now glowed clear and blue again. The battle was over. Humanity had survived the impossible. But in the far reaches of space, deep within the darkness, faint signals still flickered, echoes of something watching, something waiting. The war was not the end. It was only the beginning of humanity's rise among the stars. The world was quiet again, but it was not the same world that had existed before the war. The smoke from the battles had cleared, and the skies above Earth were calm, filled with the soft light of sunrise. People everywhere stepped outside, blinking at the gentle morning after days of fire and thunder. Cities that once trembled beneath the fear of invasion were now filled with the sound of life returning. Children ran through the streets, soldiers stood side by side with civilians, and for the first time in weeks, humanity breathed freely. In the command center of Echelon 9, Commander Reyes stood before the wide glass window, watching the horizon. The sea shimmered with light as the remains of the Leviathan fleet floated on the surface, silent sentinels of victory. Aegis spoke in its calm synthetic tone. Reconstruction protocols activated. Global systems returning to normal. Communication networks restored in 72% of regions. Reyes nodded. Good. Make sure the world knows what happened. They need to believe again. Behind him, engineers and analysts worked quietly, repairing what was left of their control systems. The faces were tired, but their eyes were alive with purpose. A young officer approached. Sir, there's a transmission from the lunar outpost. Reyes turned. From Colonel Harlow? The officer hesitated. No, sir. It's an automated beacon, sent from the crater. It's repeating the same message. Reyes frowned. Play it. The speakers crackled, then a distorted voice echoed through the room. This is Captain Lin, mission complete, but they're not gone. Repeat, they're not gone. The message ended in static. Reyes stood silent, his heart heavy. Lin, he whispered. Aegis processed the signal instantly. The message was transmitted 4 hours ago. Source location no longer active. Reyes looked up at the sky. Then she saw something before she died. The AI replied softly, possibility of surviving Dominion forces, 14%. Even 1% is too much, Reyes said. He turned back to his team. We stay on alert. Until we know for sure, the war isn't over. Outside the base, drones carried supplies to damaged cities, and the oceans reflected the light of new construction. Humanity had begun to rebuild. Across continents, new alliances formed. Nations that once fought each other now shared technology, resources, and hope. The scars of war were deep, but they were also proof of survival. In orbit, the remnants of the Dominion fleet drifted like ghosts. Wrecked ships turned slowly in silence, their lights dead, their weapons cold. But deep within one of the largest fragments, a faint green glow pulsed weakly, an alien signal, waiting. Far from Earth, in the dark reaches of space, Zoratha's voice broke the stillness. His ship, though nearly destroyed, still functioned. "You thought you could erase us, humans," he growled. "But we endure. We always endure." His second-in-command, Varric, limped across the ruined deck. "Commander, most of the fleet is gone. We have only one functioning vessel." Zorath turned to face him, eyes burning with hatred. "Then we rebuild, Varric. We will adapt to their tricks, steal their technology, and when we return, the stars themselves will burn for what they've done." The alien ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only wreckage and silence. On Earth, Reyes gathered his senior officers in the main chamber. "Our sensors show faint readings beyond Mars," said one analyst. "We can't confirm if it's Dominion or debris." Reyes studied the data carefully. "Send a probe. We need eyes out there. If they're still watching, we'll find them first." "Understood," the officer replied. As the team dispersed, Aegis spoke again. "Commander, new directive proposal. Transition Echelon 9 from defense to exploration." Reyes looked surprised. "Exploration." The AI continued, "Humanity has proven capable of surviving a galactic threat. It is logical to expand our reach, to learn before others come to destroy." Reyes thought for a long moment. "You're right. If the universe wants to find us, we'll be ready. But next time, we'll find them first." He turned to the large holographic map of the stars. Millions of tiny lights glimmered across the dark expanse. "Plot new coordinates," he said. "Earth will no longer hide." Months passed. The world healed. Cities rose taller, cleaner, stronger. Humanity became united under one banner, the Earth Alliance. The scars of war turned into symbols of strength. Children learned the names of the heroes who fought, and among them, the name of Captain Lin was spoken with reverence. Monuments were built where her beacon struck the alien flagship, the place where dawn returned to the sky. Reyes often visited that site. Standing before the great stone memorial, he placed his hand on its surface and whispered, "You lit the stars for us." Aegis' voice echoed in his earpiece. "Commander, the first expedition ship is ready for launch." Reyes looked upward, where a massive new vessel hovered in orbit, the Odyssey, humanity's first interstellar cruiser. "Then it begins," he said. "Prepare for departure." The countdown echoed across the communication channels. 10, 9, 8. People all over the world watched from their homes, their cities, their rebuilt streets. This time, the rockets were not for war but for hope. 3, 2, 1, launch. The Odyssey's engines roared, fire and light spilling across the launch field as it rose through the atmosphere. Children cheered, scientists wept, and soldiers saluted. Humanity was stepping into the stars, not as victims, but as conquerors of fear. In orbit, the ship passed through the last remnants of the Dominion wreckage, heading toward the unknown. Reyes stood on the bridge, the planet slowly shrinking behind him. "Do you think they're still out there?" he asked quietly. Aegis replied, "Probability is high." Reyes smiled faintly. "Good. Then let them know, humanity is coming." The stars stretched before them, infinite and full of secrets. The engines of the Odyssey glowed brighter, and as it vanished into the vast black sea of space, Earth's first true dawn reflected on its hull, a promise written in light that the age of fear was over, and the era of humanity among the stars had begun.